Good morning. This is Josh, the Good Handyman and Realtor with Realty One Group. Today is Friday, August 9th, 2024. I'm sure if you've been able to watch on the interwebs, the news, everything, politics aside, that there was a big settlement with the National Association of Realtors. I'm kind of going to go over that a little bit. I've been holding out for a good update, and this is a big one because we've been waiting. Just for context, I'm coming to you as a real estate professional, also while being a blue-collar man at my heart. The biggest challenge I've struggled with in the entirety of my 10-year real estate career has been the idea of real estate agents getting paid and how and how not to. Just for perspective, as the entirety of the nation's concerned, Phoenix market ranks number 4 in the state and the country for the most saturated real estate agent market. There's one agent to every 100 people in the valley. We've got about 54,000 prior to this settlement, and so the failure rate's 87%. And as I had mentioned, I'll be celebrating 10 years in March, and for 5 of those 10 years I've also been a handyman contractor. That has allowed me the opportunity for 1,000 jobs, roughly 450 customers, while simultaneously serving on the real estate, which is roughly 180 transactions. The average agent, when we look at the entirety of things, has usually sells between 0 and 2 transactions a year. So I'm coming to you with some wisdom and honest perspective on how I feel with everything going on. So about the settlement, that's a really good segue into it. So the settlement was presented to the courts in March of 2024. Everything was presented earlier, but settled in March of 24. $418 million was the settlement. Depending on where you're looking, it could be more, it could be less, but nonetheless, National Association of Realtors got their ass handed to them as it relates to commissions. That was the large bit of things. There's this general consensus that commissions are 5% or 6%. There's really nothing saying that that is the fact. It's always been negotiable. But the antics, the way things have been played out from other agents over the course of the craziness of these couple of years, some people got fed up and didn't wanted to correct things. And so in case you've never sold a house or maybe bought a house, for perspective, we've all probably bought a car before. And so I'm going to give you an example as I'm going to sell my car and I want you to hire a mechanic that I'm going to pay for. And I want you and your mechanic to come look at my car, and I want you to investigate it, test drive it, check it out, just beat the shit out of it. If there's repairs, I'll take care of it. It's okay. I want to sell it. But then at the end of that, okay, we come to terms. I expect your mechanic to also talk me down on the sales price. Okay, so we come to terms. I sell you the car. I fix the repairs, and I also pay your mechanic. If you ever sold a car in your life, you would be hell-bent on never doing that. The law for the longest time in the large majority of the country was that sellers paid both buyer's agent and seller's agent 6% for easy math. I'm going to sell your house for 6%. 3% of that goes to the buyer's agent. Now, with all of this recent changes, that is no more. And what no more means is that the sellers are no longer obligated to have to pay for the buyer's agent. That now means that the buyer's agent needs to get paid from the buyer. They don't want the split of representation. And so as of August 1st, we had to change a lot of our processes. It's no longer commission, it's considered compensation. There's no more 5%, 6% conversations anymore. It's 100% negotiable. They've even gone as far as removing all of the commissionable compensation on the MLS. We can no longer see if a seller's giving us a bonus, or maybe this is a 3.5% listing, or maybe it's a 1% listing and I really don't want to go ahead and show my buyers this. The sad thing is that it has been known that agents will steer their clients around, not all, but some have known to steer their clients around to the more high-paying buyer's commissions. So that is out the door. We cannot market that anywhere online on the MLS. You can certainly call the real estate agent, the seller, and talk to the listing agent, ask if there's any compensation for the buyer. But the seller's no longer entitled to do that. And so having said that, we kind of evolve into new forms and new kinds of shit that make this a lot better. So our listing agreement has changed. It can say that you can or can't. You are or not going to. It really doesn't matter what it is. And at the same time, when a buyer presents their purchase contract to you, the buyer can also now submit a seller compensation negotiation. So not only were sellers used to have to pay for their listing agent, adjust the price, get some repairs done, entertain that they may need closing costs to pay for the buyer, but now the buyer can present a seller compensation agreement, which now brings in negotiations even deeper into the purchase contract. So there's a whole lot more moving parts to just the money situation. And having done this as long as I have, same with Chas and the rest of our team, we really don't care how much your house is worth. We're here to serve you regardless. Everyone needs to be taken care of. And I've struggled greatly with the idea that just because your house is worth more money means that I should charge you more money. I do feel a little bit bad for some of our sellers, our buyers out there, first-time home buyers who've got to put themselves in a spot where not only do they have to cover their down payment, but they also have to potentially cover closing costs, but really understand that they very well may be on the hook to pay for their buyer's agent. And with this change as well, we can now no longer show a buyer a house willy-nilly. We have to have a signed agreement between ourselves and our buyers. And on that piece of paper also mentions compensation. And so if we don't do that, us agents can get fined up to $500 for the first time, go as high as $15,000 as the offenses may occur. We could even lose some of our access to the MLS and so on and so forth. So it's a big deal. So now, just like when we're getting ready to sell your home, we are going to write up paperwork. We're going to have an exclusive relationship between each other. Now, between ourselves and the buyers, have that same kind of agreement. I think it's a good thing in that regard, but it definitely makes having the conversation about how to buy a house a little bit more kind of challenging or complex. So as of now, paperwork's got to be signed between us and the buyer. Sellers no longer have to pay for buyer commissions. More savings for the sellers. Where does this take us to the future? I really don't know. I really think that sellers will always need to have a real estate agent represent them to avoid, possible litigation issues, disclosures, all of that other kind of stuff, preparation. That has some real guidance on what sells and what doesn't sell. As it relates to a buyer, I can see in the future there being less buyer's agents out there. Although good representation is helpful, in today's very information-driven environment, they have the ability to get all kinds of info that they want to about the home. They can see it sooner than we can because we're serving multiple customers. They're just serving themselves. And I see it as the travel agent used to exist years ago. Now people can do their own thing. The mom and pop car sales place, you could buy a car low, sell it high. Now that doesn't even exist. Buyers can just go to a large place. They don't need any representation. They can buy the vehicle that they want to. And so same goes for the home buying experience. I read something about a person from England. They don't have buyer's agents out there. And if they do, it's for the much higher market. Beyond that, it's the buyer taking care of things. And when the buyer understands that they've got whatever fee they may have to pay for in addition to everything else, I can see that kind of dwindling back. And so that's the really big update. I'm sure there will be more things that roll out as you see, but for all intents and purposes, the industry has changed. And I'm a big fan, a big proponent for it. So as we move from that crap into the actual market, where we're at today is in all of the within Maricopa County right now, as I look at the information. When I look at the information across the MLS, right now we've got 18,000 homes that are on the market. This is far different than what it was COVID time. The silly thing is that We're at 18,000, but roughly about 75% less than what we should be as a normal market for the size of Phoenix. Having said that, our demand is also down 25% from where we should be. So houses are going up, but the demand is going down, which is probably largely connected to the interest rate challenge, because that's been a dramatic adjustment. Interest rates today are 6.54 for a conventional loan for 30-year, and 15-year is 6.07. This is from my Market News Daily, and that was looked at first thing this morning. VA, awesome, 6.1, FHA, 6.9. If we go back to this time last year, between July and October, interest rates were between 7 and 8%, with an 8% spike as the months led on. Just doing the silly math, just for perspective on how much this impacts people. If you had a $400,000 mortgage loan, and the rates dropped just 75% of 1 point, your savings is roughly $185 a month. We're just talking from 7.5 to 6.8 is an example. That range would save you about that much. So just expand on that as to reason why things are a little bit slower. And so when we shake things out a little bit further and just specifically look at homes, condos, stuff, just within Maricopa County, under $1 million, we have 11,500 homes. Under 600,000, we have 8,300. And then the first-time home buyer, maybe we're under 400,000. We have 3,600 houses on the market. Go back to COVID time, single-family homes, this range, we had less than 400 homes in the entire Maricopa County for under 400,000. We have presently, in the entirety of the MLS, which includes portions of Pinal County, so on and so forth, just a large area, we have roughly 17,700 homes actively on the market. 7,700 of them are under contract, which is a roughly, the impressive part's the active listings. Active listings at 17,700. It's a 55% increase from this time last year. That's dramatic. All that also being said, our sales are down. We only had 6,100 homes close this past month, which is down respect to this time last year. But median sales prices are up 1.9%. So the median price throughout the greater Phoenix area, the entirety, is roughly $448,500. So that's still really good for sellers, even though the market's kind of making its adjustment. As it relates to sellers, our sellers market, it's still a seller's market in 11 of the 17 largest cities in the Metro Phoenix area. These are the Chandlers, the Gilberts, that kind of stuff. But when we look at the numbers, we're only talking about stuff that's just barely over a certain level. So I'm going to say that statistically speaking, they're in a seller's market. However, we've got a couple that are right there at the balance of things. For sellers right now, we don't know if the recent law change, the agent percentage for having to pay for sellers or buyers keeps a little bit more money in the pocket. Still, with the interest rates where they are and buyers still coming out, price presentation still is important. We just had a listing that went on the market, and 3 buyers that saw it immediately put their house on the market because they wanted to buy it. Multiple offers still exist, but they're a little bit down from times of before. But the good homes that are priced well and show well get under contract. Putting on the real estate or the handyman hat, I'm seeing an average of about $1,000 or more in repairs. Buyers get the opportunity to ask a little bit more than what they had been before. We just saw a request for a 2002 Buick in lieu of repairs. They wanted that as a credit. So I guess all shit goes. It doesn't matter right now. And so that's for sellers. The big thing with sellers right now is that they're having to also compete against new builds. New builds are occupying 27% of all detached home, single-family home sales in the last half of the year. So sellers are trying to also have to compete against new builds having lower interest rate programs, a bunch of neat things to keep drawing them in. There's been no major change on the new builds. That's why we're seeing them expand so much. Prices are still up. So we shift over to our buyers. Buyer's market, it's starting to balance. There's a little bit more desperation out of sellers trying to compete with their other sellers that are on the market. We've seen price reductions go up 88% since this time last year. And when we look at the data further, 51% of sellers pay for incentives before closing. This could be closing costs, this could be a collection of other things. This really helps out first-time home buyer opportunities because sellers got to be a little bit more flexible than they used to in years past. The interest rate drop also really helps kind of open up people that have been kind of holding back a little bit on being able to go out there and fish for the market. So that's kind of the nitty-gritty skinny of everything. I think the NAR settlement's a good thing. It'll be interesting to see how this shakes out for the future. That really whittles out the no self-entitled agent stigma. I'm worth this much, I'm getting this much, and I'm going to take advantage of that. There's no more kind of double dipping. Everything is on the negotiation table. Through this, we've seen some attrition in agents, so that has kind of helped reduce our saturation. That means if you're going to meet an agent in the coming years, they're likely to have weeded out the huge influx of people that we saw over the course of these last couple of years post-COVID. The good thing is that it's just more transparency, more negotiation. Those are all positive things. It'll be interesting to see what this looks like in the future. There's a lot there. I don't do my updates like this all the time, so even though I've spent the time here, I don't want to just whiz bang you with some data that you're going to forget in 2 minutes because that's all the video was. So I appreciate you watching. Myself, Chas, we're here to help. My number is 602-708-4946. Like I said, there's a lot. Feel free to text, reach out, ask questions, or share with somebody. Like I said, we're in this because we care. We wouldn't be here as long as we have. And thank you for your time. You guys have an awesome Friday.